Good evening and welcome to the first of two Inside Government shows brought to you by Cayuga Community College, shown on Spectrum, Verizon, Fios, as well as ARMA, the Auburn Regional Media Access, and Win 89.1, the college's radio station. I'm your host, Guy Cosentino. We are delighted to have in the studio today the new head of the Cayuga County Office for Tourism, Courtney Rae Kasper, and her even newer Director of Marketing, Fenner, who is also a Cayuga grad, I should say right at the top. We've asked them to join us to talk a little bit about what their office does, what their goals are, and what the state of tourism is like in Cayuga County. We know you're not necessarily an official Cayuga County agency, but you get funds from the government, and that's why we have you on Inside Government. Welcome, both of you, and congratulations on your new jobs. You've been here before. You were the producer of a magazine that we talked about last year.
Yep, last fall.
Which was just great, and we're going to finish off with the new, this version, not the next one that's coming out for the bicentennial. So welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So first question for those who may not know, what is the Office for Tourism?
Right. So our office is really in a moment right now where we are kind of moving away from what the traditional thought process of what a tourism office does, which is marketing only focused. And we have a new strategic plan that is actually moving us to what is called a destination stewardship and management organization. And what that means is that we're not only here just to market and promote what the county does, it's about actually involving our residents. So we want resident feedback so that we can create a sustainable and inclusive tourism product for all. So we do a lot of different things, but the overarching goal that we're moving toward is stewardship. So we do a lot of collateral, we do marketing campaigns.
When you say collateral, people think collateral damage. You're not
No,
doing
not collateral damage.
So what's collateral?
Pieces. We do the magazine, different brochures for our different campaigns. But one thing that I think that's very special about this office that we like to look at, and I brought this with us so that we can talk about it, is what a destination does. And if you don't mind holding that for me. So this is based on some of the research that some of our partners, the global leader, which is Destinations International, came up with to really help tourism offices advocate for themselves. Because while we are always telling stories about a destination, we don't typically tell the story about ourselves and what we do. So this is kind of the model that we follow, and this is what will lead us to that stewardship management destination. So it's about the visit first. So kind of that, if you build it, they will come. Two, if you create a place that people want to visit, they'll eventually want to live there. If you create a place where people want to visit and live, they will actually want to work there. So you're building businesses. And then what that actually does is it's that return on investment. So bringing the visitors here that might want to live, work, and play here one day just means more tax dollars into our economy.
So let's jump a little further on this, and we'll get back to your mission. So obviously this summer, there's a lot of discussion about the money that you all take in, and we don't need to get to the nitty-gritty of what vote was what, but in essence, you are largely funded by the occupancy room tax, correct?
Correct.
And that is, and while some people understood that, I would say the vast majority of people don't get it. They don't know what you do, how you get the money, and let alone where you spend it.
Right.
Where it came up in the context was there was a conversation, I want to say it was about $200,000 to remove from your budget, which is used for collateral, for marketing, and operations, and turn that over to the county. Despite last night, and we're taping this on Veterans Day, so happy Veterans Day, and thank you for your service if you served. The county raised taxes last night, or has a proposal to raise taxes about 12%. That has nothing to do with your budget. Your issue was resolved back in the summer. That being said, would this have solved part of the issue because people would have understood better, A, where your money comes from, and B, how is it spent?
Right, thank you. That's a great question, and happy to answer that. Just for some clarity, our office is funded through the sales tax, which is what visitors pay when they book a hotel room.
Sales tax or occupancy tax?
The occupancy tax.
Okay.
The occupancy tax. But basically, we are not a county department. We have a governing board of directors. So kind of the way that we say it is we make our own money in the sense of we're attracting those visitors here. They're staying in our local short-term rentals, hotels, Airbnbs, and we are getting a percentage. Right now, we get 95% of that occupancy tax through the county, and the county retains 5% for their administration.
And so what does that 95%, what does that generate for you in a given year?
So our budget is a projection right now.
Okay.
So in the past, especially with COVID, that really boosted our occupancy tax. So it went from a budget that was probably around $750,000 to $1.2 million.
So that's post-COVID.
Correct. So we are still right now in that 1.2 million. That's what we have projected. We don't know right now exactly at the end of the year. We won't know Q4 occupancy tax vouchers until that comes in, probably
But
first
generally
quarter.
on an incline upwards versus a decline
It has
down.
been for the
Okay.
past couple of years. We have certainly been increasing. So that budget, it's our projection. It's not necessarily a voted on budget. But when that vote came about, what happens is, just to explain to the public, it is a local law that the county, and we're grateful for it, put into effect almost 30 years ago, or a little over 30 years ago.
Meg Vanek was the director.
Meg Vanek, and then we had Karen Kuhl. So we've had great leadership, and it's been over 30 years, and the county had the foresight to know that they were collecting this occupancy tax to designate an organization, a nonprofit, to administer that, which was the Cayuga County Office of Tourism.
And at this stage, because that was decided in the summer, whatever occurred last night in the proposed budget has nothing to do with you.
Correct, because it's not a budget that the county votes on. But I will say that the local law that really kind of looks at what percentages this office gets does come back up to vote every 3 years, which is why it came back up in 2024. The next time would be 2027.
So you have 3 years to explain this chart
We do.
to everyone.
Potentially, yes. We hope we do, and that's why we're working on a lot of advocacy campaigns.
Do you get other sources of funding?
So because we are the New York State designated tourism promotion agency, we do apply for matching funds through I Love New York so that we can do not only some of our local marketing campaigns, but also regionally.
Do they do a match on the 1.2?
No, so it's sometimes it's between 60 to 80,000 is a match.
Okay.
Yep, and we don't know that until we get that in December.
So we know how you get money in.
Yep.
Where do you spend it?
Yep.
That's part of your job, am I correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You got it.
So where do you spend? So obviously some money. You're for those who don't know, you're located in the visitor center
Yep.
across from City Hall.
Yes.
And you have a staff of how many?
So right now we have the executive director, we have the marketing and sales director, we have a marketing assistant, a PR manager, and then an office manager. So right now we're a staff of 5.
Okay. And so with that, where do you spend your money?
So a lot of it is obviously operations. And then next would be marketing is a huge part of our budget for us that Hillary will be managing. Also PR then comes next. But the majority of it is our operations and our marketing campaigns. One thing that we're looking at for the next coming years would be group sales. So we're really looking to help promote that this is a destination to hold meetings and events at.
All right, we'll come back to group sales. So let me just ask you a couple questions
Yep.
on what. So is it print? Is it digital? Is it something else?
It is a combination of everything. So we live in a world where there's so many different ways to advertise and market and reach people that we are doing print material. We're doing things on our website. We have social media. We have SEO with Google. So we're really looking.
I'm sorry, not the acronym guy here. So
Search engine optimization
Okay.
with Google. So
how does that work in the sense of getting somebody to click on something, whether it's going to the spa in Aurora, going up to buy cookies in Sterling, or going next door to you at the Seward House or down the street at the Schweinfurt, the Cayuga Museum?
Absolutely. So most of our campaigns are targeted. So we have metrics, if you're on Facebook, there's a lot of data points that companies have access to, and so they're able to market to the right folks who might be interested in visiting certain things. So if you're really interested in history, then Harriet Tubman or the Seward House might be a great spot for you to come and visit. So it is targeted for the most part. We don't just throw out a blanket, but we have some really wonderful assets here in Cayuga County.
So is that so when I punch into my wife's Facebook, because I don't use Facebook, but I punch in, let me just say hypothetically, Fenway Park or Yankee Stadium, and then she says, why did you punch that in? Because all we're getting are ads. That is Google and that is Facebook directing you because we looked into that.
Yes, exactly. And there's different layers of advertising. We've really focused, and this is part of what Courtney is touching on, is being really intentional with our marketing. Is we're
And you
looking
pay for this.
Yes, yes.
So you have do you have a contract with Google to?
Oh, we have contracts with many different companies to
Okay.
do different programs. We have a lot of different campaigns that we run, and so they really help us to make sure that we're intentional and that we're reaching people who are interested in what Cayuga County has to offer.
So you print this, and we'll talk about this in more. This is the Tour Cayuga, which is your magazine that gets printed once a year.
Yes. Yep.
That's part of this marketing budget, and this would be
Yes.
one piece that go. How many of these do you print on average?
20,000, and that piece is special because that is really meant for when residents are wanting to see, kind of have that community pride that we're talking about, but it's also for when the visitor is here. Because if you notice in that piece, which is different from a traditional visitor guide, it's not full of listings where you have the address, the name of
Right.
the place, and
So
contact
how this
information.
came about, why we did a show last year was I happened to be in Pennsylvania,
Yep.
stopped at a gas station, and this beautiful one
Yes.
with the American flag, and
Yep.
it was a classroom.
It was the Frontenac Museum.
Yeah, so that was on there, and I thought, well, this is really
Right.
cool. So those 20,000, how many of them go out of the county versus how many stay in the county?
That's a number we can get for you. I'm not sure about that.
Do the majority
distribution,
go out of the
But the
counties?
majority goes in the county and the Finger Lakes region because we're a big partner with the Finger Lakes region. But they also probably go in an area that I would say is no more than a 5 to 6 hour drive. Whereas the visitor guide would go international to some of the trade shows in Canada
Okay.
and across the country.
And Cayuga County used to do a lot of trade shows, mainly industrial and manufacturing. Do you do trade shows? Do you go to conferences where you're not conferences, but trade shows where you're trying to get, you mentioned group tours.
Yep.
So Betty Lewis, who used to run the Seward House for many, many years, the big thing for her was making sure that bus trips came to next door to Seward House.
Right.
She wanted them to stay overnight. That was not always, that's what you want them to do,
Yes.
which we'll get to. But mainly for her, it was getting these large tours where you'd have 60 people come through the door, paying a fee. Is that the type of group tour you're looking for, or are you looking for multiple night stays as well?
So I think we can be looking at both. I think we're looking at more traditional. I mean, when you think group tours, a lot of times we're talking about bus tours, and there's a lot of bus organizations that are bringing people who are interested in learning more about the history of our country. They're looking to enjoy a glass of wine on one of the Finger Lakes. And so I think, we're definitely looking to make sure that people know that we're an option. Like I said, we like to be intentional with our marketing. We want to make sure we're reaching groups that it matches and that they are interested in what we have to offer as a county. And so I think moving forward, we'll be doing some of those conferences, and I'll be there to represent Cayuga County.
Okay.
And if I can touch on
Go
that just
ahead.
a little bit, that is one thing that we knew Hillary was going to bring a strong background in and just help with that. It's something that in my previous role, I was seeing those bus groups coming, and it was a lot of discussion about how do we better coordinate this so that there's more of a concerted effort of that we know exactly where these buses are going, where these group tours are going, what their interest is. So it's something that the tourism office is shifting a little bit to focus a lot more on in the next coming years.
Because you want to be beyond, and I'm sorry for the vernacular, but this is how it was explained to me 30 years ago. You don't want to be the bus stop that's the trash trip, which is the bus goes to site A, everybody gets off the bus. The bus driver then goes back out to his bus. He asks somebody, where can I get rid of the garbage? They get back on the bus and they go to their next stop, and they've never stayed overnight, nor have they stayed, nor have they gone to a restaurant.
Right. That's really, I've never heard that concept, so
I
it's
know.
very interesting. But yes.
Been here for a
because-
while.
Yeah, well, the prime example is, and we realized, there are a lot of buses that we weren't capturing because they would go just to the Harriet Tubman home and then leave the town. So it's trying to figure out how do we capture that, retain them, but
And I think education, making sure they know
exactly.
that there's so much that this county has to offer, and that, you've only been to Harriet Tubman Home or Seward House. Here are some other things you can do, and making sure that we're capturing that information as well.
So a second ago you said something, so we might as well talk about the two of you if you don't mind.
sure.
So who did you replace as director,
Karen Cool.
and where did she go?
So Karen is on an adult gap year. She is on her school bus, and it's a bus that she and her husband have kind of fixed, and they combine their names of Sloth and Cool to the school bus, SK. And she, let's see, last one I checked, she is in Virginia right now.
Williamsburg.
Williamsburg, okay.
Yes, she just
Yep.
posted.
So before you were director of tourism, what were you doing?
So for the past 7 years, I was the manager of the New York State Equal Rights Heritage Center, which in that role I really functioned too as the director of the City of Auburn's Historic and Cultural Sites Commission.
Which is also where the business and
Yes.
and it's not that you didn't play a role undercover for this.
Right, I was always a big partner and ally with the tourism office.
So the one that we had you on 2 years ago or last year was because you did the magazine
Yes.
and Ms. Cool was nice enough to bring you and say, hey, it's her work.
Yeah, and we actually, Karen and I, our offices were right next to each other for the past 5 years.
So what attracted you to this job?
So it's interesting that you asked that because tourism is not something that I thought of a career path. My background was journalism, which is why the magazines are very familiar to me. But the root of that was always that authentic storytelling. So that's really kind of the backbone of what I'm really good at. But also it was being in this role with the Heritage Center and getting to meet the visitors. I was very front facing, seeing where people were coming from and kind of encouraging residents to be a tourist in their own backyard. So it was really this combination of different things. It was mostly though being in that job and working with our partners and realizing that we have so much here and I'm proud to live here. I've been a resident of Cayuga County for 16 years. So I'm not originally from here.
So where are you?
From Alabama, southeastern Alabama. So I kind of have that unique perspective of resident
okay.
and tourist.
So work with the map with me for a second. So you started in Alabama, you went to Florida.
State University.
That's
yep.
a Seminole, you
Yes.
just told me, okay. Then where'd you end up?
I went to Syracuse University for grad school.
And one bad winter didn't tell you to get
It
the
didn't.
hell
And
out
you know
of
what's
here?
so funny about that? I had never seen snow. That was the first time I ever saw snow. And it was the first year since the 80s that Syracuse shut down because there was a blizzard. So yes.
And it didn't deter
It
you?
didn't deter me. No,
Okay.
I've been in New York for 16 years.
Okay. So you, on the other hand,
Yes.
snow is natural to you.
Yep.
You've been in the job how long?
I've been here under a month.
Okay. But you weren't too far away.
No.
You were in the next county over, and what were you doing in Skaneateles?
Yes, so I was the executive director at the Skaneateles Chamber of Commerce for the past 7 years.
Okay. And so what attracted you to come here?
So with my job
Besides we're the center of the universe, but we'll
right,
that's a
and
different
the
issue.
wonderful new executive director.
Okay. That'll
you
be
know-
great on a review, by the way.
Yes. But being part of the chamber, we're a small area, and so we really focused on who are our regional partners, who can we work with, how can we help promote Skaneateles as a destination, and a lot of where we trended was working with Cayuga County, and so whether it was with Karen or with Amy Fuller over at the chamber, I created some really strong partnerships. And in that time, the Skaneateles Chamber really does a balance of business and tourism, and so I got more involved with tourism as I was there, getting involved with the New York State Tourism Industry Association, and that it kind of got me thinking, is this the next step for me? And so I'd been looking into tourism as a potential option, and that's when the Cayuga County office reached out to me, and they said, "Oh, do you be interested in the director of marketing role?" And so I went in, I applied, and it worked out really well. But it was at a time when I was really thinking kind of what's next in my career, so it seemed pretty perfect.
So you're Cayuga grad.
Yes.
What was
I
your
am.
major here?
I am. I was liberal arts. I think it was just humanities, social sciences.
And then you went to Hobart?
Yes, yep. So Hobart Williams Smith, and I was a sociology, anthropology. So it was a lot of vague things, and I think I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do. And then I went on and got a master's in public policy, and after that,
Where was that at?
That was at the University College of London. So I was over in London for a year, which was great. And what I realized is I really liked research, but I really missed people. And so when the job at the chamber opened, it was a great chance to be able to put a lot of that data that I'd been doing in my research and been putting into practice there to kind of combo that and marry that with being social, being front-facing, and getting to work with people.
Again, this is most likely an unfair question for you,
Yep.
maybe a fairer question for you. But do you have, and I'm not asking you to say to all others they're worse, but is there a favorite tourism destination you have in Cayuga County right now?
I love them all, but I always find the village of Aurora very charming.
Okay.
I think it's just a beautiful little lakeside community, and you've got Mackenzie Childs there. It's just a really little sweet spot that we definitely like to send visitors to because you've got the inns, the lakeside, great
So
restaurants.
you've done 2+ of these magazines, is there something that you uncovered that you say, you know what, more people need to know about that? So Frontenac was on the cover 2 years ago. I'm not sure what woods this could be almost anywhere. Is there some hidden destination you say, you know what, enough people here don't know about it?
So what's interesting about that is we have heard from so many residents that have read that magazine that were like, oh, I didn't know that this place existed, or I've never been to this museum and now I want to go check them out. So we had residents making their own checklist. So I think it was something that we all kind of knew internally, that these are the great spots to go visit. And one of the things that we do that we can touch on is we have our tourism community days, where we ask residents to tell us those exact things. What places do you want us to promote in your village or town, and what places do you want to keep secret for your own? But as far as the magazine goes, you know, it was kind of us internally knowing which places that we wanted to promote. But I've loved hearing all the resident
And
feedback.
getting great art.
Yes, absolutely.
That's vibrant, which
Yes,
is
we
clearly.
do lots of photo shoots, great
Yes.
illustrator, designer for it.
Okay, so again,
Yeah.
30 plus days.
Yep.
Favorite place you've been so far?
So I'm not pleading the fifth, but I will say what's been interesting is I knew Auburn very well. You know, that was really, I was so familiar. I'd done work here. I went to school at Cayuga Community College, great place. I think what's so interesting to me is just realizing how far-reaching Cayuga County is, that we've got the north, the south, and Auburn's really in this central area. I thought it was really interesting. I got to go on a photo shoot my second week and go out and do some accessible locations and some natural locations. And so we went out, and I'd kind of forgotten how much I love Fillmore Glen. It's been a few years since I've been there. And so almost relearning the spaces that you have in your own backyard is a really beautiful thing. While we were there, we stopped at Rowan's, which is a new restaurant in Moravia. So I highly recommend people check that out. It was a great little spot that I never would have been to otherwise.
So let's talk about some of the data that you do collect. And a lot of this is through Zartico,
Yep.
which gets you data. Who puts information into Zartico?
Right, so Zartico is a company, it's a software platform, and it's research data that we use to inform our marketing campaigns, things like that. But they collect visitor data and resident data through visitor spend, which is credit cards, and also geolocation, which is through cell phones.
So do we know who the average visitor, where the average visitor to Cayuga County, forget our local people for a second, I'll get to that, where our visitors come from?
So it certainly changes. I actually just pulled a report that was about Fairhaven Beach State Park, and basically what it does is we have different points of interest that we have put on a map, and we've broken the county up into its 3 different regions, so we can really hone in on certain attractions or just certain parts of the county that will not only show us what these visitors are doing in that part of the county, but where are they going after. So, for instance, I did a collection on Fairhaven Beach State Park, and this was back in September. Folks that went to Fairhaven Beach State Park, we saw some visitors then went down to Fillmore Glen. So they're obviously looking at outdoor attractions, right?
Do you know how many, do we have an idea? You obviously get data because of hotel stays because that pays the bills. Do we have a data of how long the average visitor stays if they're coming from outside of this county?
So right now, the data that we use is for short-term rentals. That's something I think we're talking to the hotels more about, of exactly that. What is the average visitor? But as far as the data goes that we get, it shows, and it varies by different times of the year, different months. I think it was back in September, one of our visited markets was Wilmington, North Carolina, which was new for us. So that's data that we can look at and say, well, why were we getting so much visitation from Wilmington, North Carolina? So it does vary by season, by month. But our average visitor, I would say a lot of the top ones were obviously, New York City, Albany, Cleveland, Ohio, Pittsburgh.
So just to get off on a tangent, Airbnbs, you're not getting revenues for those, are you?
Yes.
You are, so they are covered.
Yes, and that's why the local law was opened up at the last legislator meeting and voted on, because New York State did change the language for that law.
So you may get an uptick in that because Airbnbs are expanding as a base out there.
They're expanding, and what this new law requires is that every Airbnb or short-term rental that exists out there, whether they're registered by VRBO or Airbnb, they have to be registered in New York State.
Do we get many people from Canada or Europe?
We have in the past. Right now, obviously, things are a little bit down with our Canadian and European visitors.
Do we know where they're leaving their euros or their Canadian dollars, their loons?
No, and it's something that I know that we've talked a lot about with our state and our regional partners. We're all looking at this. We're all seeing what we can do. We are hitting, slower shoulder season, so we are all having these conversations about how do we bring back our Canadian visitors.
So shoulder season, because I want to get to that because we only have about 4 or 5 minutes left. So I want to make sure we talk about your campaign.
Yes.
So a shoulder season is what?
It's our not main summer season, so it's September to May.
Okay. So you have a couple of campaigns, and I want you to come back in the spring because we're going to not get through even a third of what I want to cover here.
And then we'll be much more in our
Okay.
Exactly.
But let's talk about a couple of things you have. So you have a Cayuga cuisine campaign.
Yes.
What is that?
So one of the things from our research is that the top things that people visit here is outdoor attractions, food and beverage, and then our historic sites. So it was a campaign to really kind of get behind and tell the story of the people making the food, owning the restaurants.
So is that getting people to go to, let's just say hypothetically, Prison City North, Osteria, the Aurora Inn?
Correct.
What was the place you mentioned in Moravia?
Rowans, yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, so it's a whole campaign it's a video series, and there was an interview done at select restaurants that have participated so far, and it's just getting to know the people, getting to know their story about why they started their business.
So that's not on a specific schedule. We just want people to come eat here.
Yes. So and it will be part of a marketing campaign. We're actually talking to the Chamber of Commerce about partnering with them during Restaurant Week. But I'll say the top video and interaction that we've had so far was the video from Pablo's.
Okay.
Yep.
So Go Beyond campaign is what?
Yes. So again, based on our data, outdoor attractions, that's slow travel, which is people really wanting to get out in nature. It was encouraging people to go beyond the typical hiking, do mountain biking, do bow fishing, do different things outdoors.
Kind of try something new. Challenge yourself, go beyond your maybe immediate comfort zone and enjoy vacation in a different way.
But a bigger piece for right now is hibernation, which is you want people to come here in the winter.
And I'll let you talk
We
about
want you to hibernate and we want you to vacation
Okay.
here. So whether you're a resident and it's a staycation, whether you're coming here from a neighboring county or from farther away, we want people to come and be able to relax and enjoy. This is a cozy season.
So something like hibernation is part of this shoulder season campaign.
Absolutely.
Right, and again, it's based on some of this data. We just got a report from Hilton Hotels that talks about hospitality, which is people want to have a vacation that is quiet, serene, out in nature, relaxing. Yeah. So we are using data to make sure that we're targeting the right markets.
Then. Just kidding. So the last one, in the last 30 seconds, I want to talk about this, and that is Where Brave Women Winter. So I've seen in a lot of national magazines, a lot of national campaigns focus on women travelers as they go out for girlfriend weekends or whatnot. Is that an untapped market? Or is it a market that you've tapped but needs to get much larger?
Both. It's one that is also regional. So we partner with the Finger Lakes Regional Tourism Council because we are in central New York in the Finger Lakes region, which is really rich in women's history. So it's one of those campaigns that's meant to boost that winter shoulder season. So it's spread not only throughout Cayuga County, but Onondaga, Seneca, and it's getting people to visit women-owned businesses. We also have local events that are tied to it, like the Brave Brews Festival. I don't know if there's anything you want to add to it, but...
No, it's just a great opportunity to highlight some of the small businesses owned by women and just in general encourage women to get outside. We know we live in a place that is cold and dreary for a lot of the year, and it's wonderful to get outside no matter the weather.
Outside today?
Yes.
Get yourself a little, quick hit of vitamin D and try to enjoy.
Today's a great day for photo shoots. So we haven't even talked about Bicentennial. I'd love to have you. When will this next edition come out?
That should be out by April.
Okay, so we want to have you before that so you can bring a mock-up.
Sure.
But we want to talk about Bicentennial and talk about other things that the Tourism Office is offering. Want to congratulate you again, both on your new jobs.
Thank you.
Our guests have been Courtney Rae Kasper, who is the director of the Cayuga County Tourism Office, as well as Hillary Fenner, who is their new marketing director as well. We wish you well in your ventures because that's good for the economy and good for Cayuga County.
Yes,
we will be back in just a moment. We had planned to bring you Joey Ellis of Westlake Art Conservator Center. He will not be with us this afternoon. We'll reschedule that interview. But we are going to have Sarah Passarello, who is the Assistant Superintendent for student services for the Auburn Large School District to talk about the food drive that the district is doing to benefit the children of this district. As we know, with the federal government and the shutdown, there has been issues with the SNAP program, the Senior Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, and so she'll be in here to talk a little bit about poverty and the needs of our children in our district. We'll be back on Thursday with our final programs for the season. We'll start with Mayor Jimmy Giannantino. The mayor of the city of Auburn will be here. We'll talk about what's going on at City Hall and the recent elections, and then we'll end with Senator Rachel May, the state senator for Cayuga County, and talk about not only what she's been doing since she was last on in the spring, but also about the budget outlook for 2026. If you'd like to send us questions for either guest, you can send them to cozguytho@aol.com. I'm Guy Cosentino for Cayuga Community College. Thank you for watching. Stick around. We'll be right back with the Assistant Superintendent of Schools to talk about poverty and SNAP.